It's no secret that investment banks want their staff in the office. Some have staunchly fought against remote work, while others have compromised by allowing staff to work a few days from home per week. A common thread, however, is that these banks are spending inordinate amounts of money on revamping their offices or building entirely new ones. Is this a retention tactic or an excuse to work staff even harder? Find out on the Coffee Run. Every day on eFinancialCareers.com, we give you a rundown of news in banking, finance, and beyond on morning coffee. On the Coffee Run, we break down the biggest story of the week and let you know other important stories you might have missed. This week's top story, courtesy of Bloomberg, is that Barclays is spending $1 billion to upgrade its New York office in Times Square. The news came just days after Reuters reported that Citi was spending $1.5 billion to upgrade its London office. The upgrades will include new trading floors, technology upgrades, and new quote-unquote amenities. The bank acquired the building when it acquired Lehman Brothers' US operations during the 2008 financial crisis and employs more than 12,000 employees in the Americas. What kind of amenities cost $1 billion though? Barclays isn't saying, but sources estimate that it will be completed sometime in 2030, so perhaps we'll find out in 5 years. Citi's London renovation, meanwhile, is much further in. It started work in 2022 and is set to finish next year. What's Citi spending $1.5 billion on? The money is apparently going to adding new gardens and shrubbery, well-being zones and quote-unquote villages to link teams. These renovations are especially interesting because both banks are making some pretty major cost cuts. Barclays back in 2024 announced plans to cut £2 billion worth of costs by 2026. It cut over 200 jobs in its investment bank, roughly 3% of IB headcount, as part of these cuts. Citi, meanwhile, is in the process of cutting 20,000 jobs as it completely revamps its structure to cut costs. It's not just Citi and Barclays getting new offices, mind you. Deutsche Bank already moved into a new London headquarters in Moorgate in 2023, which is equipped with an internal GPS system, which can assist traders with wayfinding. Now, the bank is also upgrading its secondary London office in Canary Wharf. The most famous renovation in banking, though, is at JPMorgan, or I should say renovations, because after finishing their $3 billion skyscraper in New York, they're now planning to build potentially the biggest office building in London in Canary Wharf. JPMorgan's New York office is a spectacle. It's 60 stories tall, it has in-house pubs, in-house restaurants, a wellness centre, circadian lights to match the sleep rhythm of its employees, and even a signature scent. Maybe it smells of money. Having spent so much money on the office, JPMorgan really wants staff to make the most of it. The bank announced earlier this year that all staff would have to come into the office 5 days per week. Investment bankers told us at the time that front office teams were basically doing this anyway, but the back office and technology teams did have hybrid arrangements. JPMorgan's CEO Jamie Dimon famously went on an impassioned rant during a town hall as this shift was taking place. He complained that he was never able to reach anyone working from home on a Friday. Senior technology MDs, seemingly unimpressed by the signature scent, are reportedly considering their options because of the policy change. Times have certainly changed since the pandemic. We surveyed bankers in the years following the pandemic on how many days they spent in the office. In 2021, analysts were there 2.8 days per week, while MDs were there 2.3. Just a year later, analysts were in 3.9 days per week and MDs were in 3.4. By 2023, the average bank employee spent 4 days in the office. Barclays and Citi, meanwhile, are more work-from-home friendly despite these big investments. The former allows staff outside the front office to work from home 2 days per week, while the latter gives 2 remote days to most employees, including executives. If that ever changes, at least they'll have some new amenities to look forward to. That's not the only big story in finance this week. Richard Hayes, formerly one of Citi's most senior traders in Asia, has been banned from re-entering the industry until 2030. The punishment is somewhat symbolic, as Hayes is already retired. Somewhat symbolically, Hayes has been appealing the decision. Why is all of this happening? It relates to historic events on Citi's high-touch equity sales desk in Asia. The bank fired a group of traders from that team in 2019. According to Bloomberg, Hayes himself handed the traders letters saying they'd been fired for misleading clients about certain stock positions. The Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission said that Hayes received many emails concerning the alleged actions of that desk. The regulator said he failed to take note of the relevant emails, hence the ban. The desk allegedly misled clients by spoofing IOIs, or indications of interest. Essentially, they'd tell clients that another investor was interested in buying certain stocks when the other investor was actually Citi itself. The bank said it has taken significant remedial measures since 2019 to prevent something like that happening again. At Goldman Sachs, meanwhile, chief US equity strategist David Kostin has stepped down from the bank after 31 years of working there. Kostin had a more dour prediction on the US equities market than most. He forecasted last year that the S&P 500 would have just 3% annualized returns until 2034, and that it would fall towards a low of 2,000 in the near future. In reality, it's up 13% this year and ended last year closer to 3,800. Kostin isn't the only strategist with a bleak outlook to leave their bank recently. Marko Kalanovic was involuntarily removed from JPMorgan last year after 19 years at the bank. The man, who was previously likened to Gandalf for his ability to magically predict the market, said on Twitter yesterday that the bubble could very easily soon burst. And from us at eFinancialCareers, the top story is that of Richard Kersley, a former equity researcher at Credit Suisse that now has to spend £28,000 a month just to stay alive. A year after retiring, Kersley blacked out while on a walk and was taken to A&E. There it was discovered that he had glioblastoma multiforme, a brain tumour that kills 95% of sufferers within a year. Kersley is currently on an alternative treatment that instead has a 5-year survival rate of up to 13%. The problem is that AXA, Kersley's health insurer, doesn't cover it, because it only funds treatments widely available in the UK. Kersley's wife, however, told us the UK is one of the only G7 countries not to use the treatment Kersley's on. Because AXA won't fund the treatment, they're spending £28,000 monthly themselves on it. She also told us that many of Kersley's colleagues during his banking career have reached out to provide support, although they're not interested in taking any money. She noted that some of these colleagues have had similar experiences with their own AXA health insurance. AXA said it covers quote-unquote conventional treatment, and that the treatment used by Kelly has insufficient evidence to warrant the firm covering it. Thank you for watching The Coffee Run. If you want to check out our articles, you can go to eFinancialCareers.com, or you can subscribe to our newsletter by following the link below. You can also like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to get more news updates like this every Friday.